smaller investors are going to be priced out of Bitcoin. I'm just telling you that right now. And we've talked before about how a lot of people won't be able to get their hands on zero point 0.1 Bitcoin. This is something a little bit different. Some people may be able to get their hands on 0.1 Bitcoin, but they're going to be stopped from doing anything with Bitcoin. And I'll explain why that is. It's not a fault of Bitcoin. It's because there's going to be so much demand. It's going to cause some issues for some smaller investors. I want to talk about that. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn that bell notification underneath the video as well. While you're down there, I do want to say I need to cover some of the cryptos that are spiking here today in a moment because they're just going nuts. So before we get to the Bitcoin stuff, I do want to talk about that and the state of the market. That being said, I did open up a couple trades yesterday. As I said, I did a Cardano video and I went 10x on Cardano. Now Cardano's done insanely well. I actually made 50% returns on my 10x, even though I closed it out way earlier than I could have. And I did it over on Margex. Now, Margex is really interesting. You can see, I know that you're seeing the backside of my account right now, but watch this. If there's some kind of issue, let me say, hello, I have an issue with my account. If I have some kind of issue, or I have a question or anything like that, I can send this off, and this goes to a real agent there. They get back to you within minutes. Hopefully they actually show it here in a second, but they get back to you within minutes with a real person. I think they respond very quickly. It's not like some automated system. As you can see here, someone's already writing back. Now, someone had reached out. There was some miscommunication, it sounds like, with Margex. And if there is something like that, you can come to me. You can literally email me. I have my email listed. And you can say, hey, I had this issue. And I reached out to the person that I know there at Margex. And we're going to get it resolved very quickly. So that's a cool thing about Margex. They call it a boutique exchange. It's a little bit smaller, so they have really good customer support. As you can see, I've been trading a bit as well over on Margex. Now, of course, always do your own due diligence. Know that not your keys, not your crypto. So I put just a portion of some of my tradable assets over here. There's also a link to Blofin as well. They're awesome. They have 270 plus trading pairs. They use Fireblocks, which is industry-leading custodial institution. So their assets are quite safe, and they're running a deposit bonus. Both of these are running deposit bonuses as well. So check out both the links underneath the video if you're interested. Now, crypto's done extremely well this year, obviously. Bitcoin over the last 90 days is up 71%. That is nuts. There's no question in my mind why so many people want to get into cryptocurrency because the gains are just insane. I mean, Ethereum up a lot too, 45%, so has been bleeding against Bitcoin, but there have been some altcoins that have started to run. I mean, Solana is mid 70s. We have Cardano at 61 cents. I mean, it's up 145% in the last 90 days. People are getting gains that they have not dreamed about since the last bull run, 245%. And CeDeFi, it's making me sick watching it go up day after day. I mean, it's one of those things where you don't know if the fact that you are like so excited about the gains is a sign that you should take profits, or if it's a sign that we are at the beginning of the bull run, but still people haven't really invested. Like, I'm still so bullish on the market because there's so many people sitting on the sidelines. So while they start to ape in, it could just be one of those times where we're so used to the bear market that whenever you get excited, you feel like you need to take profits, but you could miss out on massive gains. Like CeDeFi, I could have taken profits at 100% up, but then I would have missed out on the last $2 increase in CeDeFi. I started buying at $1.10. So I'm not actively, aggressively buying a lot of cryptos right now. The last time I bought CeDeFi was around Thanksgiving, so about 2 weeks ago. But I am dollar cost averaging into a couple smaller cryptocurrencies. I've talked about blockchain bets. Last time I bought, I believe it was around 3.1 cents. Now at 41 cents. And I've talked about all these with the Patreon, whether it's trades on something like Cardano or some smaller cryptos that I probably shouldn't talk about yet because they are still small market caps. But people are rejoining the Patreon. Like, I've noticed a lot of people start to join again, trying to get some of these alpha plays. So there's excitement. There's excitement happening again in crypto. There are people resubscribing to Patreon for the first time in a year, 2 years even. So people are coming back into the space. Now, one thing that's really interesting is when we get more people coming into the space, they want to know, where to put their crypto, how much they need, that kind of stuff. And one thing that I hadn't really considered up until today, because a subscriber reached out and was talking to me about this, someone that had been in software for a long time, is that maybe the cold storage wallets aren't necessarily the best place for smaller people to put their crypto. And I've talked about this before too, right? I like Treasure a lot. If you have crypto, and you have a lot of crypto, you should probably use cold storage. But I've said before that it's not worth really buying a wallet to have a small amount of Bitcoin on it. Like if you have $200 worth of Bitcoin, it doesn't make sense to go buy a $50 wallet, right? That's expensive. The other part, though, that I hadn't really thought about is the transaction fees on Bitcoin. Of course, we can see dormant Bitcoin addresses. We know that there's probably 4 to 5 million Bitcoin that are lost over time. A lot of that is due to people maybe passing away and not giving their keys or their seed phrase to someone, or it could be sending it to the wrong address. Something else I had never considered is that some wallets will just be priced out of doing transactions. Now, I've talked about this with Ethereum before. I've talked about this with smaller altcoins, that it doesn't really make sense to have so many altcoins, let's say on Ethereum, because when transaction fees move up, it can be really hard to get your crypto out, right? You don't want to spend $50 on a transaction fee or a couple $100 on a transaction fee if you have $80 in a crypto. So oftentimes you'll just try to wait and then the crypto will fall back down and then it's still not worth it. Now, I hadn't considered that with Bitcoin until today. Again, when that subscriber reached out. Basically, they were saying that when these countries, like let's say Qatar, Russia, Canada, the US, when they start buying Bitcoin, or when enough large whales entities start transacting on Bitcoin, the fees are going to go up. Now, the Bitcoin rich list shows us the size of different wallets, how much Bitcoin they actually hold. And this is a good thought exercise. Right now, there are about 330,000, something like that, Bitcoin that are locked in wallets with under 0.1 Bitcoin. So right now, it means that there's $4,000 or less worth of Bitcoin in these wallets. Now, the interesting thing is, when all these countries get in, they're going to be paying larger transaction fees. They were trying to push their withdrawals or transfers to move faster. And basically, as a miner, you can pick which ones you actually want to go and process. So there are going to be a lot of people transacting, willing to pay large fees because they're moving around millions or billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin on chain. This same person said recently they tried to do a withdrawal and it was maybe, I forgot exactly what they said, maybe $100 withdrawal, something like that. And they were looking at the options and they were going to have to pay $50 to do a fee, to pay for the fee on Bitcoin. So they just left the Bitcoin there. So as time goes on, as more and more people come into the space, it's going to be harder and harder for these smaller wallets to transfer. I mean, let's say there was a $300 Bitcoin fee, transfer fee, and let's say Bitcoin's $100,000 at that point. If you have 0.1 Bitcoin, that means you have $10,000. Do you want to pay a $300 fee? Maybe. Maybe you're okay with that. But maybe you're one of these people that doesn't have quite 0.1 Bitcoin. Maybe you have 0.04 Bitcoin. So you have like $4,000. Do you want to pay a 10% transaction fee? I don't know. And the transaction fees can continue to move up. And the number of wallets that have dust, that's what they call it, just when you literally don't have enough to even make it worth it to transfer out, these wallets will continue to grow. There will continue to be people that maybe transfer out and for some reason they didn't include the last 0.02 Bitcoin or 0.002 Bitcoin in that transaction, right? Like when you don't copy it exactly, but you just write to a pretty close decimal. But as time goes on, there will become more and more wallets like that get stuck. I mean, right now, the amount of wallets that have 0.1 Bitcoin or less account for about 1.3% of the overall supply. again, about 300,000 or 315,000 Bitcoin. As time goes on, that could continue to happen. It's kind of crazy when you think about that. So you really do want to be someone that gets enough Bitcoin to even transact on the network, or you have to hold it on something like an exchange. Again, not always the best case scenario if it becomes really valuable, because there is always risk if you hold the majority of your crypto on an exchange, as we know. Now, there is something to be said for just trading small amounts of crypto. Like I've said, that's something that I'm willing to do, but I'm not sure everyone is. That is what I keep on exchanges. The rest I keep off of exchanges as much as possible. But it is something interesting to consider. Some people are just literally getting priced out of Bitcoin. It literally won't make sense to hold it or to buy it in that small amount. Because imagine Bitcoin's at $1 million, right? High transaction fees. Does it make sense to go buy 0.001 Bitcoin? At that point, that would be what? $1,000? I mean, in a spot ETF, maybe that makes sense. But if you're trying to buy that from Coinbase, if you're trying to withdraw it, right, you might have to pay a huge fee to do that withdrawal. So that will stop some people from even being able to really buy if they want to hold it themselves. So that is an interesting thing to think about. Now, let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. I hope I did a good job of explaining it. Tune in too, because I am going to do a video outlining when I plan to sell my cryptos and my order of operations, what I'm looking for. Some people are going to diamond hand, which is fine. I think that makes sense for some people on Bitcoin, but diamond handing altcoins is not the best idea. So I'm going to give that video here very soon. If you want to be on the lookout for that, you can hit subscribe, turn that bell notification so you know right when I post the video, and you can check out the links underneath the video as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.